Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 records video. Today I'm going to be talking about the 5 best soundtrack albums and the original scores. So soundtrack albums which have been written and scored specifically for a film. So no compilations like the beautiful Quentin Tarantino soundtracks like Death Proof and Kill Bill. Also not the ones that are somewhat in between. You might think of something like the soundtrack to The Wall. Yeah, it's not an original soundtrack. It is much more of it's not original material because the album was there before. Same can be said about Christiane F. weer Kinder van Bahnhof Zoo. I'm not sure if David Bowie actually recorded new versions of his songs, but they do sound different. They are mixed different. And for example, there's a live version from Station to Station on that album, which is only which has been recorded for the film specifically. Those are all not applicable to this list. This one has to be written and recorded by an artist for a film. Here we go. On number 5 spot of best composed soundtrack albums, I give you Ry Cooder's Paris, Texas. Now, this is a beautiful gem of an album. Why? I think because Ry Cooder pretty much understands what the soundtrack is supposed to do within the film. You know this when you watch this film that Wim Wenders and his cameraman Robbie Muller, it's a Dutch guy, a Dutch cameraman, so I should know him. You know that they are actually on a quest searching. Yeah, Robbie Muller. I just checked out on the cover. It's Robbie Muller, brilliant cinematographer. They try to visualize the spaces, which is obvious, but the space has an influence on the main character. The main character is lost, and when the film develops, you notice that traveling cars and highways and an airport are all situated on locations to see the difficulty of the rest versus the unrest in the film and in the main character. Now, Ry Cooder understood what was going on and what the film was visually trying to tell, and he translated that into this beautiful soundtrack with slide guitar. The moment you put this on, you're in the film, and this is an amazing film. Also, this is an amazing film if you just hear the soundtrack. This music takes you to landscapes, to American landscapes, and it's mesmerizing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful sounding. It's mastered by Bernie Grundman. What more do you want? Well, what more do you want? Perhaps the number 4, which is a completely different, how do I say, genre, completely different. So I couldn't compare the two of them. So it's a dumb remark. Curtis Mayfield's Superfly. Now, this is one of those awesome 70s soul soundtracks. There are more good 70s soul soundtracks, but this one doesn't have how do you say, a dull moment. This one just has great and good songs, and it all puts the film to a next level. You know, it's so much also the soul of the film. This album by Curtis Mayfield, Superfly. It's awesome, brilliant score. Now the number 3. I'm gonna put right now. I decided to switch to number 2 and the number 3 because I just love the one I just switched on. I just love it too much. Nevertheless, number 3, Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution. Now you might say this is pretty much a studio album. Purple Rain is a movie, and the movie might be a vehicle for the persona of Prince. Nevertheless, this is an original and official soundtrack album. These were written for the film, or the film was written for the music. I'm not pretty sure what the dynamics are, but this was not released in another manner before this. Before it was released as a soundtrack album. This is the original soundtrack to the film. Now, the film would have been nothing without a soundtrack, but that might be said for all of the films in this list. It has so many great songs. And it's so good. I mean, Darling Nikki is a good song, you know. Evidently, Purple Rain is one of the big epic ballads from the 80s. The way it sounds, the atmosphere, it's all mesmerizing good. What really struck me when I put this vinyl version on, this is the first European pressing. Side 2 opens with When Doves Cry. And that is such an impressive collection of sounds. I mean, the beat, the rhythm, the way Prince's voice sounds and the way it's recorded, and his highs are so impressive. It has so much punch, it's everywhere. This is an awesome, awesome soundtrack album. Purple Rain. The number 2 spot, we're going to Italy. And this might be new for some of you, though not if any one of you is a horror fan. But my number 2 is Profondo Rosso by a band called Goblin. Now, I love Goblin. Goblin made some of the most impressive scores. Beside Profondo Rosso, you might want to check out a little soundtrack called Suspiria, which I also really, really love. But as a whole, as an album, Profondo Rosso is Goblin's biggest masterpiece, because all of the tunes on here, every single track is a masterpiece. It takes you to different places, it has different influences. You can hear influences of prog rock in here, you can hear influences of jazz in here. One moment we're in an old film noir, then we're in a creepy Christmas-like haunted mansion film. This album takes you everywhere, and the film is good as well. The film is a cult horror film, and it's a masterpiece. But this soundtrack, it is part of the film experience. If you haven't heard it, buy one or go online, check it out online. It's quite the experience. Awesome. Goblin, Profondo Rosso. Now on the number 1 spot, what is the best original film score ever? We stay in Italy. C'era una volta il West, also known as Once Upon a Time in the West by Ennio Morricone. Everything that I said about the Goblin album in regard to that every track is a unique masterpiece in itself, that can also be said about Once Upon a Time in the West. And as a matter of fact, every singular track for me is a guarantee to goosebumps. The way that Sergio Leone and Ennio Morricone worked together, collaborated. I mean, it's clear that music has been composed during editing, perhaps even during shooting. I know Ennio Morricone used to do that in some occasions. I'm not sure if he did it on this occasion. But the timing of the shots, the timing of the film, it's all structured within the possibilities of the music. Now, some people regard Once Upon a Time in the West as somewhat of an Italian opera in the West. And if you look at the staging, at the timing, it's absolutely there. But the film could not go there without the guarantee and the melodic grandeur and attitude of what Ennio Morricone was doing there. Now, I'm not going to say that only this music was what made that film a masterpiece. It's beyond that. It is the collaboration. It is the way that these people worked together, and the way that the music and the cinematography and the actors perhaps even responding to what they were hearing, the editing responding to what they're hearing, that made it one of the most daring experiences in cinema and one of the most interesting experiences in music. Now, that is my top 5. I'm curious, do you agree, do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.